The issue of conscription was a very controversial element throughout both of the World Wars. Both Robert Borden and Mackenzie King were initially opposed to conscription, but winded up opposing conscription as the wars continued. In the First World War, Robert Borden initially promised Canadian citizens that there would be no conscription. However, after visiting wounded soldiers overseas and witnessing the conditions of the soldiers, Borden retreated on his promise of no conscription, in hopes of strengthening the Allies and ending the war sooner. The decision infuriated the French Canadians, who did not have the same ties to British as English Canadians did. In the Second World War, Mackenzie King was persistent to unite Canada as one war force. As a result, King wanted to avoid the drama created between the French and English Canada that occurred over conscription in World War I. However, after the evacuation of Dunkirk in June 1940, France surrendered and the Allies were low on men. Mackenzie King still did not want to go back on his promise for fear of a repeat of World War I, and instead he created the National Resources Mobilization Act, also known as NRMA, in 1940. This pleased both sides of the conscription conflict because it required all men over the age of 18 to join the military services for the country's defense, but did not give government power to send conscripts power overseas. King faced even more pressure in 1942 from armed forces in English Canada to authorize overseas. King still did not want to fold to this pressure, and again took an alternate route. He held a referendum over the question of sending the conscripts overseas. The results were 82.3% voted yes in Ontario, 79.4% voted yes in BC, 72.9% voted no in Quebec. King was then in the exact position that he had been avoiding. He was caught between French and English voters. But unlike WW1, King still decided he would not impose conscription. It was not until after high casualty battles in Italy and the loss of D-Day that the needed for soldiers were so high that the unwilling conscripts from Canada were finally sent overseas. The final sending was so close to the end of the war that the fast collapse of Nazis in 1935 allowed Canada to prevent them from having to send more conscripts to the front. The end.